Welcome to Buzzing About Romance. I am Becky, and joining me for this episode is my other friend, Erin Nicholas. Hi, Erin.
Hi, Becky.
Thanks for jumping in and helping me do this episode tonight.
Of course, Christmas books. Come on. I'm all
Right?
in.
Um,
Absolutely.
I've been reading all the holiday romances, and our quick shots up and until I think like the 21st are all going to be holiday novellas that we're reading.
Awesome.
It's funny, the very first year we did the podcast, I was kind of like, I don't really like Christmas books. I don't really like them. Then I started to get FOMO. People were talking about
Yeah.
them, and I'm like, hmm.
Yeah.
And then I read a couple really good ones, and then I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I like
I'm
them.
in. Yeah. I've always liked them. I think but see, I'm the one who I want to like the Hallmark movies. I watch the Hallmark movies, right? But they're not spicy enough. So that's what the books do for me. I mean, this time of year, it's all Christmas, it's all peppermint, it's all whatever. Like, I don't mind having sweaters and boots on. I will mind at the end of January, but
Yeah,
I don't mind yet.
I think I like them just because a lot of them are short and sweet.
Right,
Under 200 pages. But see,
right.
I'm a category romance reader. I
Yeah,
love category um, because they're like short and to the point. And really, when I started picking up the holiday releases and the novellas, that's what they felt like.
yeah,
Kind of like that,
yeah,
those Christmas categories that were just spicy and fun. Um,
yeah. Well, I think when you're like, for me anyway, when I'm going to a Christmas book, that's what I want. I just want Christmas. I just want a couple at Christmas, maybe with their family, maybe snowed in a lodge, whatever. But there doesn't need to be a lot of extra stuff.
yeah.
So it doesn't need to be really long.
I do have a concern about all the places that are getting snowed in because it's not happening where I live.
I know, right? I know. I've grown up in Nebraska and Iowa, so it does happen. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
It's so funny because it occurs to me. My son now lives out in LA after growing up in Iowa, and he came home for Thanksgiving and it snowed. I was like, you brought the snow. Like, I didn't want it this early, but it was here for you. And he's like, I don't miss it. I don't miss it.
Yeah.
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 So,
My husband is from Cleveland area and he would get lake effect snow,
oh
which is way
man,
different than the kinds of snow that we get
right,
here. And I
right.
remember one year we were driving up, it was right before Christmas, we were driving up to Cleveland to visit his grandmother. It was just a quick overnight or for the day, and it hit a real heavy wet snow. And it took
Yeah.
us like 4 hours to make a
Yeah.
2.5 hour trip.
Right. I think everyone who lives in the Midwest has a story like that, at least one, right?
Yeah.
If not multiples. Yeah. I don't know. Is it a thing where, if you grow up in a place where it snowed, the stories feel familiar? And if you didn't, it's fun because it's something you don't experience. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, I always think it's funny the
Yeah.
people who like live Mason-Dixon line, so Kentucky, Tennessee, that are
Yeah.
always like, "Oh, I really love snow." Yeah, your whole state shuts down
Right.
at
Right.
1 inch, at half an inch.
I know. I know.
Like,
On Facebook, there's always that we joke about that. People are out of school for a half inch. And we're like, oh, please.
yeah,
That's nothing here. That's like a Tuesday morning. And then, but yeah, I think it's fun. And thankfully it's not year round, thankfully. So I guess it
thankfully,
just
yeah,
feels seasonal.
it does. So on this episode of Buzzing About Romance, I'm going to catch up with author Erin Nicholas, and we're going to talk some mycotropes first, and
Yeah.
then what are they? The purpose of them, and also we're going to talk about writing Christmas romances. We're going to get into why choose books
Yay.
because Miss Erin is writing some why choose with her author friend Erin McCarthy, and then just
Yeah.
catch up kind of Romance Landia. I have a couple
Oh,
what are your thoughts on this year? Um,
oh,
questions
okay.
that we'll get
Nice. Have
into.
thoughts on everything.
Um, so romance term of the week, like I said, is microtropes. So this is defined as, and I will say I'm defining this. This is this is only Buzzing About Romance official.
Okay. Got it. I like
Um,
that.
these are small nuances within a story that create an emotional reaction for the reader. They are very specific to each story and to each reader. It varies to which character it is aligned with. Example, a dirty talker, competent hero. Almost kiss, forearms. I think kinks fall under mycotropes.
I think they,
Such things as like praises like good girl. Um, love languages, small touches. those are all going to be micro tropes.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this conversation, and I love that this has become a thing that people talk about and like list their favorites and things like that. I love that because one, it's very helpful to authors to know what everybody loves, right? So we can put those in, but they've always been around and people just haven't talked about them. And I love that people are recognizing it and starting to see, oh my gosh, not only do I love small town romance that has whatever blue collar heroes, but I also love when it's this, or I love when it's this. And it's those tiny things. It's not, there's a girl on TikTok who does these like, it's the little things, and then she'll talk about a book where it's just like this little scene, this little moment, and that's the thing that got her. It wasn't that he was a single dad or that he was a brother's best friend. It was like this little tiny thing. So yeah, those
Yeah.
are fun.
So I'm researching an episode next week. Our episode's all about kisses and the
Mhm.
sexiness that is the kiss. And as I was researching that, I realized what I like are those almost kisses, like the
Mm,
hand on the face and the whispers against the ear that have
yeah.
this intimacy about them, but aren't the full like kiss.
Oh yeah. See, and this is what's fun about microtopes is when other people say theirs, then you go, ooh, I really like that too.
Yeah.
It's not always stuff you think about.
There
Yeah.
is Marilyn Kelly in it's book 2 in her hockey series that she's writing right now. There's this almost kiss, and he's trying to show her that he can fake a kiss without kissing her, without actually
Oh,
kissing her.
okay.
But it's all about
Okay.
hand placements and
Right.
the whispers, the almost touches, and I'm just like, that is
The eye
hot.
contact. Well, and it just goes along with all the slow burn and all of that, right? It's like that linger, it's like that pining. It just goes with all of those things that we love. It's like when you just have to wait for it.
Yeah.
So that's so great.
Do you have a favorite microtrope?
Oh, I have so many. Yeah, I have so many. I was just gonna say with kisses, I love the head kisses. I love when the guy kisses her on the head or on the
Oh yeah.
forehead. I don't know. There's just something so sweet about that, right? That's just like a little possessive, a little affectionate, but it's not the steam. I have so many. Gosh, I don't know. I love men who are like who love pets, who maybe don't love people but love pets. They have they have a cat that is grumpy with everyone else but loves him. I love that kind of stuff. um I love grumpy old people. I love grumpy grandmas and grandpas and people like that. I love food. I do have a thing, my readers know I have a thing about and having food, whether it's kind of sexy times or like gifts. I don't know, I have lots of food in my books.
I think food as a love language is
I do
when
too.
the hero feeds the heroine.
Yeah.
I think that that is incredibly sexy. Again,
I do too.
for me, the micro tropes are going to create intimacy that
Yes.
there normally wouldn't be considered an intimate moment.
I think that's true. And it characterizes people in such a way. It's like showing, not telling, right? It's like that whole, you get to see this person in a different way just from this one moment or this one thing they say or do. And I don't know. I just love that. I love that when you get that little flutter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's just it. The reactions are going to be very personal to the reader themselves. Like
Right.
Leah had me read Michelle Hurd, her latest book. The heroine is in an arranged forced marriage type situation, but she will not let the hero kiss her until she's okay with him. Like
Oh,
they
okay.
have sex, but they
It's
don't kiss.
sure. It's the
And
pretty woman
it's
thing.
the pretty
Yeah.
woman thing. And he is so respectful of her boundary, but all the while like pushing it, which works in a
Yeah. Of
mafia romance, right? Like,
course.
morally
Yeah.
gray, whatever.
But maybe even better because you wouldn't expect him to not just blow through it,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could have taken control, but he doesn't. He very much like respects the boundary, but and doesn't push right through it. And
Right.
but he pushes it. He totally pushes it.
I realized one the other day, which I mean, I think I knew, but it just was like on the page, like, oh my gosh, I'm reading Big Nick Energy by Morgan Elizabeth.
Oh yeah.
And without giving any spoilers, but the hero basically steps in it, like screws up the first time they meet, says something really, really, really stupid. And she just loses her crap and just chews his ass. And then he looks at her and he goes, "You're right." And I was like, oh my God, that is so a moment, right? That's
Yeah.
so a moment.
I like, so we talk about like the heroes for the microtropes, but there are some
Yeah.
times when heroines can present the
Yeah.
microtrope. So,
We always talk about all the heroes, right?
right.
Yeah. Let's talk about
But
heroines.
I
Yeah.
also think, like, for me, when a heroine is the pursuer,
Oh, I like that too. Yeah. There's not enough of that. Yeah.
Lindsay, when we did our female archetype episode,
Yeah.
Lindsay talked about how brother's best friend, when she's the little sister,
Mhm.
is almost the same as a femme fatale archetype because she
Oh,
can,
okay.
especially if she is the pursuer, she
Right.
is the one pushing for the relationship, and he's like,
Right.
"Whoa, we're not there
Yep.
yet."
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I love, I love when she's the pursuer.
There is such a, have you read Kaylee Ryan's newest one, Does He Know?
Yes, yeah,
That one. That one. She's very well. And the way I like when the heroines in those situations too, and it's in that book where she handles her brother too, right?
right,
Like, I mean, she's respectful. And in that one, they take their time, but she's not worried about him. Like she's like, he's gonna love me anyway. What's
yeah.
your problem? I really like that when they're confident that way. Yeah, I love heroines who are caretakers. I love heroines who know what they want. I love when heroines are really confident in the bedroom, actually, who, are like, let's go.
Yes, agreed. Um,
Yeah.
Carrie Elks. Have you read Carrie Elks?
I have. Yeah. Carrie's lovely. I love her.
Book two in her Salinger brothers, the heroine is a meteorologist.
Oh, okay.
And
That's so
in an
interesting.
auction, the hero buys a daily weather forecast, a personalized
Okay.
daily weather forecast. And she goes out of her way
That's so creative. I
to
love that.
provide him with the weather forecast for where he is and what his plans for the day are.
Um,
And I mean, she
that's really
hates
cool.
every moment of it because she thinks he's dating someone else, but he's not. He's with
Oh,
his
got it.
mother.
Got it. Okay.
But the book, if you've not read that series,
I
it's
haven't read
so
that one.
good. Um,
Oh,
I love
when,
Carrie Elks. I love Carrie Elks.
yeah. I love, and I love a good, Carrie does, that's just what made me think of it. She does a really good single mom. I love strong single moms.
Yeah.
Those are, those are a thing for me. That's not really a microtrope, but I love seeing moms with their kids. So
Well,
I guess that kind of
moms
it.
who have their shit together. I mean,
Yep.
I was married with a spouse full time. Like, there
Same.
was no
Yeah.
reason, but I was a hot mess of a mom.
That's,
Like,
I was just telling someone about Big Nick energy because she's a single mom and kind of a mess, but like very aware of it.
yeah.
And I was telling somebody about it. I was like, I relate to every single thing this woman is going through. And I had a husband who was
Yeah.
very much a partner, and I'm
Oh,
like, I don't know how single moms do it. It's, oh my
absolutely.
God.
But I like when the single mom either she has a support system in place
Yep.
or she is competent, and that's just it. I want competent women as much
Yes.
as I want competent men.
Same. Yeah, and I'm sure you've seen this. There's people who talk a lot on social media. It's kind of a microtrip, I guess, where they talk about how, when the guy comes with the money and or the job offer or the free apartment or the whatever, and that's exactly what she needs. And then she says no just because she's got pride. Like sometimes you can sell that, but sometimes you just want to go, just take it, girl.
That's
Like let
me.
him help. Yeah, he's a billionaire. He doesn't care. Like
Like,
just
he bought you a car? Okay, great. Awesome. Thanks. I
take
needed
your time.
that.
I know.
Or
I'd like to see more of that.
I'm trying to think what book I read recently, and he sends her like a full wardrobe and a necklace and shoes, and she only keeps the shoes. She sends everything else back, and she's like, the necklace was a step too far, but I'm wearing the shoes. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Take it
I know.
all.
Put yourself in those shoes. Would you literally, but would you really? I mean, maybe some people would send them back, but come on. Come on.
No, no.
I like
If,
smart women, and I like heroes who believe the woman is smart and
yeah,
admire that. I love when the hero is the one who says, "Wow, like you're too smart for me. Like you're too good for me. Like what are you doing with me?" Because they recognize these women are strong and don't really need them,
yeah.
but they're there because they want to be. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, and if I look back at the old bodice rippers that I used to read, when like the female, I'm thinking of the Joanna Lindsay, the Mallory ones, where she like disguises herself as the cabin boy and
Yep.
sneaks on. She does the
Yeah.
work. It's killing her, but
Right.
she
Right.
does the work. I love that.
That was always a thing, right? Yeah, exactly. And they can tell it was a girl, like that was the whole thing, right?
So
Yeah.
funny.
Love that. Love
Um,
that. I love those tough girls. Partly because I would die. I would never be a stable boy.
Me neither. I'd be throwing up, or
I would, yeah, it would hit one day. I'd be like, I have a blister.
I'm not really good at sweating, so could we
Mm-mm.
like not do that, please?
Exactly. There's bugs.
Um, so okay, so let's talk a little bit about all the things that you are writing.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but we're talking so Christmas releases. We've talked a little bit
Yes.
about them and how
Yes.
excited we are from. But you actually have two Christmas releases in this last
I
month.
do. I do. One is Erin Nicholas and one is Emma Fox, which my life is so fun. I have all these fun things going on. So I'm trying to look up who the author of this book I'm thinking of right now is, but I'll have
That's
to do it
okay.
later because I have to give you this
Um,
recommendation. I do. So one of them is it's called Stuck by You. I'm going to hold it up, but then I'm going to show you something kind of funny. So this is called Stuck by You. It is a Christmas, it's a novella, but it's a long novella. It is 212 pages. So it's a pretty long novella. Um, Part of my Louisiana Bayou world, a snowed in story,
in
rivals to
Louisiana and
no, they
Louisiana.
go to North Carolina. I know. It was really fun. It was part of there are five of us who wrote these stories, and all of our couples had to come from our own series, but end up in North Carolina at this inn and
Okay,
end up snowed in together. So I was given some parameters, which is always kind of fun, kind of a
that is
challenge.
kind of so. Who all wrote with
Um,
those with you in that
so it was
group?
Kate Nolan, J.H. Crow, Elena Aiken, and Erica Kelly, and
Okay,
me. So we all release them on our own. So you kind of have to search through to find the other ones. But yeah, they were all snowed in Mary Falls, North Carolina, which we made up, of course. Um, but Rivals to Lovers, they kind of she works for a guy who builds and renovates bed and breakfasts. And she wants to do one down in this tiny Louisiana town that I have created along the bayou and give people like the bayou experience. He's a game warden and he's like, no, that's a terrible idea. So he shoots it down with the city council and she's like, oh, it's on. So they basically spar and banter and all of that. And they end up, he challenges her to spend the night down on the bayou in a cabin. And he's like, city girl, I don't think you're going to make it. She's from New York City. He's like, I don't think you know what you're getting into. So he puts her in a cabin overnight. Her power goes out because his friends screw around with it.
oh,
And she ends up in his cabin with him the first time. That's the first time they get stuck together. Bunch of matchmakers in this little town. And then she has to go to North Carolina for work. And he's like, I'm going with you. He's crazy about her. He falls first and he goes with her and they get snowed in together. So
okay.
very spicy. A lot of fun. Yeah. So
So,
the only
okay, let's
problem is,
talk about Snowden real quick. Okay.
okay.
What do you think is the. So, we talked a little bit like snow for us in the Midwest is like, yeah,
Right.
it's a mess.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Um, but why does Snowden work so well in romance?
I
Why?
think, well, first of all, forced proximity is always great, right? And
Right?
snow, you cannot leave. Like there's forced proximity, there's close proximity. You guys have talked about that on the
Yeah.
podcast where sometimes it's just you choose not to leave. Like it's not really that you have to stay, right? When you're snowed in, you have to stay. Like if it's a true snowed in situation,
Right.
right? And I think it's just the coziness of it, right? Like there's gonna be fireplaces and there's gonna be hot chocolate and you might get a little cold, so you probably have to snuggle.
I always love at least once in every Snowden book, there's the we have to get naked and lay next to each other and share our body heat. And I was like, it
Exactly.
didn't say
Yeah.
powered out, it just said snowed
Yeah.
in.
It just is snowed. They don't do that. I mean, they get naked, but nobody uses that excuse. But I also do think that, like, there's always the whole too, like, we have to walk a half a mile to the cabin that we find, or we have to go chop wood and then we get cold.
Right.
And then we have to take off our wet socks and then, oh, our shirt and pants too,
Right.
whatever. So I think it just sets all that up so well.
Nobody's seen a pair of snow boots or snow pants in their whole life.
Not if you're from Louisiana, they have no idea what they're doing.
Right.
That actually made this really fun because they really don't know what they're doing. They barely make it off the road.
But wait, you said she's from New York and in
She's from
Louisiana.
New York. She's actually in Louisiana for work. I mean, that's how
Okay.
she is,
Okay.
why she's in the town where they meet. Her best friend lives there and stuff. So
But if
yeah.
she was from New York, she would know how to walk in the snow.
She was a princess though. She
Oh,
didn't
okay.
scoop snow. She didn't do all of that
She didn't
stuff.
do
No.
any of that.
She comes from money. No.
The other thing that I always think is so funny is these cabins, they all only have one bed.
Of course. Of
Has no
course.
one ever heard of multiple? Because even in one of the first Snowden romances I ever read was Judith McNaught's, um, it's not Paradise, it's the second one. Shoot. He's the movie star that's on the run from, I'm gonna find it out here. Have you
Yeah, I
ever
do.
read that one?
I didn't read a lot of Judith actually. I
Oh,
read lots of other girls, but
so
oh, you
she
look I'm still finding this one.
for the first one,
Hmm.
Paradise, is my absolute favorite second chance romance ever. Um, and it's so funny. But okay, so Perfect. Book two in that series is called Perfect. He is a movie star that
Okay.
had been found guilty of murdering his wife. He escapes
Oh.
prison, ends up
Wow,
in this
Judith.
small Kentucky town. This is 1992, you guys. Or no, this small Texas town. He kidnaps the heroine who is in love with the hero, like in love with him, has always,
Okay.
that's her like Hollywood crush.
He
He
didn't really need to kidnap her. He could have just said, "Let's
go,
go."
right? She's like a
Right.
kindergarten teacher in this small Texas town.
Of course.
He kidnaps her and they
Now I remember this.
drive and they make it to Colorado to a very high end, the billionaire millionaire guy from book one, his ski
Oh,
chalet in the
of course.
mountains of
Yeah.
Colorado.
Yeah.
But it only has one bedroom and one bed.
In a ski chalet owned by a billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I always
You
like,
know?
Judith, we didn't really think that one out because I've seen real estate in Aspen.
Right? Yeah, those don't just have one. I will say the way we set this up is because it's the Mary Falls Inn and all of these people are snowed in. It's just that there's only one room left.
Right.
There are multiple rooms,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of people there.
Well, and it makes sense in a bed and breakfast or in an inn where they would have a single bed, because
Yeah,
it's going to be like
yeah,
a romantic getaway kind of place.
exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
because we did the one bed close proximity in one of our episodes,
Yeah.
and one of the girls that was on it used to work in the hospitality industry, and she's like, it's like less than 5% of hotel rooms are only one bed.
Like you want a king size bed and all you can get is two queens, right?
Right? But funny story, when we went to HEA in Indianapolis, Leah, her room was a king. And she shared
Awesome.
it with listener Susie. They bunked a room and she's like,
And you're like,
look, we're a
only
trope.
one. I know. So is only one bed, is that a trope or is that a micro trope?
It's a trope.
It's a trope? Okay.
It's trope. And it absolutely, everyone, we've talked before about close versus forced proximity.
Right.
That's one that's a little harder to define
Yes.
because you could choose to sleep on the floor, I guess. But if you
Yes.
want to sleep in a bed, you really don't have a choice.
I actually like so by the time my couple gets to that point, they're fine with one bed. So it's not really a question, but I do like the ones where there's only one bed, they hate each other, but they're both like, I'm not sleeping on the floor. They're just like, deal with it.
Kelly Jamison has one called Game Changer, where it's his family's wedding. It's a hockey romance. She's a runaway bride, and he is just her friend, and he's actually teammates with the groom she leaves on the altar. She goes with him to the family wedding, and he's booked into a room that only has a king size bed, but then it has like a lounge or a couch.
Right.
And there's this super spicy mutual masturbation scene.
Ooh.
Like super spicy because
That's
he
a nice way
stays
to
and
use
sleeps
it.
on the lounge and she lays
Right.
in the bed or the other way
Right.
around.
Right.
But we also laugh about the wall of pillows. It never
Yes.
works, people.
No,
Stop
of
doing
course
it.
not. Pippa Grant's, and I can't think of the name of it. Pippa Grant's the first in her series where they're away at a wedding. Anyway, there's there's a hide a bed and then the bed. So he's going to sleep on the hide a bed. Well, it's broken.
Yeah.
So so it's like their intention is good. It like makes sense. There's like a couch and then you can still make it work.
Yeah. So
So,
your other book, your
yeah.
other Christmas book, is part of your Why Choose
Mhm.
universe series that you and author Erin McCarthy are writing
Yes.
together,
Yes. Four pucking Christmases.
which was so fun. Like,
Oh,
really, the
thank you.
camper,
I'm glad. The
the RV.
camper. I know. Somebody asked me the other day whose idea that was. And this is how this series works. We don't know whose idea anything is because we get on Zoom calls to plot, and we throw something out and then the other one goes, oh my gosh, yes. And what about? And how about this? And it's back and forth. And then at the end, we're like, we don't know whose idea anything was. So it was both our ideas.
So before we get into that one, and we did a recent quick shot, you guys can find that in our podcast feed. Um, why do you think Why Choose seems to have a little bit of a renaissance? Like, I feel like thruples were really popular 2008, 2009, 2010,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they kind of went away. We saw much more monogamous,
Yeah.
we still got HFNs, but we didn't really get
Yeah.
this multicast of peoples.
I know. It's fascinating to me because as a reader, I enjoy them so much because to me, it is very fantastical because living with one man is more than enough most days.
Oh,
So the idea of having three, no. So part of it to me, I think, is women are like, this is the good parts of this, and we're gonna pretend all the bad stuff doesn't happen. Um, and it is literally in the title, right? It's Why Choose. You get to have the hot nerd, you get to have the dirty alpha dom, you get to have the golden retriever, and you don't have to, as a reader, even pick. You
yeah,
just get to have them all in one book. So, I mean, I think that's why they're popular. I don't know why. So there's so many dark ones. There's so
right.
many dark academy ones. And that was actually why Erin and I started writing this, is because we found some fun ones. We were like, we need more fun ones. We need more that are funny. So I guess we'll write some. So
It's really interesting because I like your fun ones. I really like Lauren Blakely's.
yeah.
Who's the other one that has like the Snowden with the Swedish mountain men?
Lily Gold.
Lily Gold.
Yeah,
I
hers are
really
really
like
fun.
hers.
Yep.
Um, but honestly, like I struggle with the dark ones because they often
Mhm.
feel like HFNs and the
Yeah.
happily for
Yeah.
nows, which if you like that, that's fine. But I always feel like if we come back to that couple in 2 years, she's going to have picked someone.
Yeah, and for me, just personally, sometimes they are so dark and everyone has a tragic backstory. And so for me, four tragic backstories and people working through trauma and people making kind of horrible decisions at times is just a lot. I can read it with a couple, but when you add in two more people then who are hurting and affecting other people, it just gets to be a lot for me.
Yeah.
So I think that was why. So we were reading Lily Gold. That's actually who kind of hooked us on like the idea of fun rom-com.
Yeah.
Why choose? And then we were so excited when Lauren did it because we were like, oh, good. This is a thing. Like people do want this. So yeah, we've
Yeah.
had a
I like Lauren's. I love your guys's.
thank
I like
you.
Lily Gold.
Yeah.
They're what I want in a wide choose because it feels fun and
Yeah.
fantastical. And like with your guys, they're so incredibly different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
really
That
they're
was
kind of the same in other ways. Like the
right.
care that they take
Yeah.
to each other, but also like they're also damn awkward with each other. Like
Right.
I'm always
Right.
like,
I mean,
guys.
also, in our opinion, of course, we're biased, but in our opinion, ours is a little different in that none of the guys are bi
Right.
and none of them were together to start. Because a lot of times that's, your starting point is at least a couple of them are really good friends. They've maybe shared women in the past or whatever.
Right.
And in ours, that was not a thing. They knew each other. They know each other because of their work with the hockey team, but they were not even that really, really that good of friends. So it makes it so fun to set them up into these situations where they're like, wait a second. Yeah. What am I doing again?
If you had asked me after the first one,
Yeah.
Pucking One Night Stand, if you had asked me after that, I would have told you that Michael wins. Like, he's my fave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but now, after reading For Pucking Christmases,
Uh-huh.
I am starting to fall in love with Crew. And you guys, he's such a cinnamon roll golden retriever. Like, he's the beta hero of the four of them, even though he's like this really
I
tough
know.
hockey guy. But he just like wants everybody to be happy and love everybody.
The most fun thing for Erin and I is probably reading reviews, and all of the guys have a fan club.
Yeah.
Like there's no just one who's, although Michael sort of pulls ahead. I think if we were tallying things up, Michael kind of pulls ahead, which delights us because Crew and Nathan are such strong personalities. Like they're so easy to write. They're so just obvious. Michael's the more like normal, the more typical hero. And so it's like we want to make sure he shines on the page too. So that makes us happy when people tell us that they love him. But
His
yeah,
family, and you guys can go listen to the quick shot we did on it. His family was the most normal. Like their
absolutely.
reaction was like the best.
Yeah.
And like I wasn't like,
Yeah.
okay.
I know. It was fun for us to like delve into that. So people are like, well, it's a Christmas novella, like whatever, who cares? But we started thinking about it and we're like, actually, people are going to need to read this. As they go through the series, if you kind of have to read them all and read them in order. And I think you're going to not be able to skip the Christmas novella. It just gives you a
No.
lot of insight into these people and who they are. It
Um
even taught us
yeah,
some things.
particularly for like Nathan cuz he's still a little bit of an enigma,
Yeah.
and you deal with his family dynamic in the book, and it explains
Yeah.
why he is the way he is. And it's interesting because if you are typically just writing the normal series without like something like Christmas, we might
Yeah.
not get that family
Yeah.
dynamic and family history. Um, but as you are plotting out and making characters and stuff, even if the family isn't going to have a part in the book, do you still build that backstory, at least in your head?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I do as a writer by myself, and Erin and I definitely did because we knew going into this, if we're going to write this together, we need to be consistent. Like every scene needs to be consistent. So we don't divide it up. It's not like I always write, Crew or Danny and she writes Nathan and Michael, nothing like that. So we both write them all. And so we knew we had to be really consistent. We had to know them really well. So yeah. So we talked about who they both were, where they came from. We knew how many brothers and sisters they each had and all of that. And it was fun because we were like, it feels like he would have this. And then we'd go, yes. Oh my gosh, yes. So it was really fun.
It's so
It was really fun.
fascinating to me. And actually, like some of these Christmas novellas, that's one of the things that I love about them is we
Yeah.
do get these backstories, or we
Yeah.
get that like side character that's been kind of lingering, that no one's
Yes.
really like, we didn't get
That's
their
fun.
full story, but and
Yep.
maybe they're not destined for a 350
Yeah.
page book,
Yeah.
but
Right.
you give us 130, 200 pages,
Yeah.
and we get their story. I love that.
I think how people react to family and holidays and traditions tells you a lot about them no matter what. So even if you have a couple who don't go see their family and you never meet their parents on page, just at some point they usually talk about family traditions or what past Christmases were like or things like that. And so you get to learn something about them from that. And we all are formed by our
Yeah.
past, for better or worse, by our families. So yeah, I think that's what's kind of fun about the Christmas ones too. We can all relate to something.
Yeah.
something.
I also like the bonkers ones. Like I have read my share of bonkers. I read Monster Pucker, which is a
Good.
Yeti and Krampus.
I heard you talk about that on your episode. So
It's
it was good.
so good.
Worth a read. Yeah.
So good, worth the read. Trick Shot by Kayla Gross. I
Is
think
that a Christmas?
it is Christmas. They meet at
I
the
might.
airport. Now, I will say there is deception trope in it.
Okay.
She thinks that that one of the guys is this famous hockey player, which is his brother.
Okay.
And
Oh,
he
okay.
lets her
Okay.
believe that. So I could see where that would like throw somebody off.
Sure.
But given to where I like started and reading, deception is not. Certain
It's not
times
a
I
big
can
deal.
handle it. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, I
Yeah.
don't need that. Um, Are
I'm
there any holiday romances that have like that you reread each year, like that you're like,
oh,
oh,
that's
this
a good
story is so good.
question.
So for me, Krista Sandor has one called Not Your Average Vixen. I
Yes, you
told you
told me
about
about
this.
that today. I downloaded it.
Oh
Yep.
my God,
Yeah.
that book. So I love holiday decorations and I love baking and I love
Yep.
all the stuff that's around the
Yeah.
holidays. But
Right.
I'm not a celebration type person.
Hmm.
For a lot of years we didn't do crowds because of our son's immune system, and then um I don't have a large family at all, and my husband's family, travel's expensive and his family was,
Right.
farther out,
Yeah.
so we just didn't travel for holidays.
Yeah.
um and so the actual celebrations on the days of the holidays, ours are really low key.
Yeah.
Even for
That sounds
Thanksgiving, like
really nice.
this year we did catering from the barbecue place and sat
Oh,
on the
that's
couch for
great.
3 days. Like, it was great.
Yeah. That
Uh,
sounds kind of nice. There are
yeah,
times. There are times. My husband comes from a humongous family. Our families both live like close enough. You have to travel to see them, but far enough that it's kind of a pain to do
yeah.
it. So when our kids were little, we did lots of all the road trips and all the staying overnights and stuff. And so we still do, but not as much.
Yeah,
And it's kind of nice. We're going actually next week to New Orleans, just us and the kids. That's
which
going to be our Christmas.
so exciting.
Yeah,
So,
it's going to be great.
but I read
Mhm.
Not Your Average Vixen by Krista Sandor, and it's
Yeah,
all the things that I kind of
it has
love
all that.
about Christmas.
Yeah.
The baking, her sister, the heroine's sister, is getting married at a snow resort, or at a ski resort in the mountains of Colorado. But it's a town, it's called Kringle Mountain, and the town is a
That's
retirement
awesome.
place for mall Santas. Like,
No,
after they've like gone past
I
and they're
love
no longer being
that.
mall Santas, they all
Yeah.
live in this town of Kringle Mountain.
I I might have to check. I mean, I'm going to check that out for sure
But
now. I
they
mean, that is
have like they have these bobcats that they drive through the snow that all have reindeer names on them, and it's just
that's
it's
amazing.
all the fun kitschy of Christmas
I love it.
without like the celebration.
Right, right. Like you just get it. You don't have to
Yeah.
like create it. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I am not, I'll be really honest. I'm not a big rereader just
Okay.
in general. So not really, though I did think about rereading 'Tis a Season for Revenge because I really, really enjoyed that one last year.
Yeah.
Um, but I have a recommendation. It's called The Plight Before Christmas, Kate
Stuart.
Stewart. Here's what I will say about it though. It is a slow start.
Okay.
Stick with it though. It is really, really worth it. And actually, everything in the beginning, I'm not sure everything in the beginning. Sorry, Kate, but like but everything, all the buildup she does pays off. So it's worth it. But it was a little bit of a like, oh, I don't know. When is it going to start? Like, when's the story going to start? But man, when it does, it's really, really good. And it's like, if you like Christmas stories where crazy family is a part of it,
Yeah.
this is it. So she goes home, she hates her job. She's dumped her boyfriend or gets dumped. I can't remember which, but she's suddenly single. Goes home to her family and her mom and dad, sister, brother, their husbands, kids, the whole bit. She's the only single one. They're all worried about that, of course, right? But her brother brings home a coworker who has nowhere to go for the holidays. It is her college ex, like the guy she was madly in love with. And she is like, what the fuck is going
Yeah.
on? Come to find out, he knew that's where he was going for Christmas because he's been in love with her all this time. So they're stuck with her family for a week doing all the family stuff, the games, the decorating, the little kids running around. And it's really quite adorable and it
Okay.
really pays off. And there's some spice and the whole bit. So
I'll have
yeah,
to check that out.
yeah.
We've started a new thing over on our Instagram where community members are recommending some of their holiday reads
Oh,
that they
good.
have found. And that was one of the ones that came up today.
Oh,
So
good.
it's got,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to put it on my Kindle.
I read it on audio, so
Okay.
that helped, but it still felt something. So like I just said, just stick with it. It's
Stick with
worth
it.
it. And then Julia Olivia, I think that's her name, has a book. Just the mall Santa thing reminded me. I have it on my Kindle. I can't find it right now, but it's like the mall Santa tour or something. It's like a bunch of her exes are mall Santas, and for some reason she's going back to visit them. So I'm just intrigued by the premise. So,
AJ Truman has one called Hot Mall Santa. It's a male
uh,
male
oh,
Santa
okay. Okay.
romance. And I think the audio is on Hoopla. So if you have Hoopla, that's a place to get that.
I cannot tell you that I've ever really thought of mall Santas as being anything that I was interested in one way or another, but now it's a trend.
Now you got to check it out. I have to
Yeah,
say, so last year at Christmas time is when I found Carrie Elk's Winterville series.
I have heard of this now. I haven't, I actually eyed it last year and I didn't start
It's a
it, but
6 book series and it's written
yeah,
in third person, dual point of view, which I know
okay.
third person can throw people off some.
Yeah, what I
Um,
do.
but it doesn't mean I don't, it doesn't bother me at all. But this series, I read book one, and the whole premise is she kind of based it on Dolly Parton's Dollywood. So the main
Okay,
heroine's name is Candy Winter. She is a
okay,
former Hollywood starlet who was like kind of like a Rosemary Clooney. All her fame came from holiday movies.
okay,
And but she had 3 children with 3 different men. And
okay.
kind of as her children were growing up, she decided to leave Hollywood, take her money, went back to her hometown in West Virginia, and bought the mountain and created
Oh, I
Winterville,
love this. Okay,
which is
okay, I love
this
that.
Christmas themed town that kind of relives her glory days of being a 1950s Hollywood Christmas starlet.
Right, but it's year round.
Yeah,
It's Christmas year round. Okay,
well, there's bigger celebrations for Christmas, but the
okay,
town has Christmassy themes all year
okay,
round.
okay,
And book one starts out Candy has passed, and her children, her 3 children, are trying to sell. It might be 4 children with 4 different men. I think it's 4 children, 4 different men. The children are her children are trying to sell the mountain to a billionaire developer that wants to tear the town down and build a huge ski resort.
of course, right.
And the grandchildren say, "Whoa, we're going to
Okay,
save the town." So
okay,
the first heroine in Welcome to Winterville, she's kind of the business mind. She is a business analyst and she's going to come in and save the town against the billionaire developer who she falls in love
okay.
with,
But she's a granddaughter, and her parents and aunts and uncles
are trying
want
to
to
sell
sell.
the town.
Oh, that's
Yes.
interesting. Okay,
So then,
okay,
like, the next book is a second chance romance. They find out he goes to do something and finds out that their divorce 7 years previous never happened.
oh, of course.
Thanks
Okay,
to his
love that.
dad. Thanks
Love
to his
that.
dad. Um,
Okay,
the next book is he's a professional snowboarder and he's come back to town after an injury and is opening up a lift and ski school.
okay,
And the heroine is one of his former teammates, competitors that it's his little sister and she's hiding out with him in Winterville. So,
okay.
brother's best friend.
Yeah,
The fourth book, she's runs the inn. So
I love this
each
premise.
cousin has a
Yeah,
different role in the town. So
yeah.
like in book one, she's the business. Book two, she runs the theater that has the holiday spectacular every year.
Right, right. With their grandma, probably
Right.
right up on screen. Yep.
Book three, he's going to run the snow lift and bring more business to town. In book four, she runs the inn. Book five, he's the grumpy Christmas tree farmer.
Oh, you got to have a grumpy Christmas tree farmer.
And it's so funny because he
Love
ends up
that.
marrying his heroine ends up being his best friend and business partner, that helps him run the tree farm. And she like totally puts him on display. Like she'll be like, "You should chop wood and take your shirt off."
And take your
Like,
shirt off.
so that people will come to the tree lot.
Because that's obviously how you would always chop wood,
Right.
right? Of
Right.
course.
And then the sixth book just came out Thursday, yesterday. And this is a cousin that's kind of been an enigma. And he's back
Okay.
to town and it's him returning home and completing kind of the family and all this stuff. It's
Is this
so
like
good.
she does this once a year, like every Christmas, releases a book in this series?
No, actually, I think she's been releasing it. She kind of staggers her different book series. So
Okay.
I think this series started
Okay.
Christmas of 2021, I think is when it is, but it's
Oh,
like been
okay.
every 3 or 4 months we've, or
Okay.
maybe, yeah. Yeah.
How steamy are we talking here?
So, I would say like medium spice. Some
Okay.
the book with the tree farmer is spicy and
Yeah.
gets a little kinky.
Oh, okay. Can you read them out of order?
Absolutely you can. Absolutely can. In that one, the heroine is she jilts her groom. That's the start of
Okay.
the book. She jilts her
Okay.
groom
I'm okay with that.
and then finds out she's pregnant from the groom that she jilted.
Oh, okay. Oh, I've maybe seen ads for this, like
Yeah.
TikTok. I think I've seen videos
And
for
it
this.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. And let's just say that I'd venture to guess that North has a pregnancy kink.
Okay.
He's all he
He's all about.
he likes her pregnant body a lot.
I like that. I
A
like that.
lot. But it's really good. You can read Carrie Elks um out of order, but it's one of those series that when I found it, I like you. I like the Hallmark movies. I think they're
Yeah,
fun, but
me too.
there's no chemistry.
Yeah, it's like, oh, let's just a little more, just a little
Yeah.
more.
These are what I wanted. Like I would say if you imagined Vi Keelan writing A Christmas Town, so it's about Vi Keelan spice and
Okay,
low
that
angst.
worked. That totally
And
works.
but I'm obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with them.
If you like Grumpy Christmas Tree
I
Farmers,
do like
um, Holiday by
Monica
Monica
Murphy.
love that
Except
book.
that book, okay, the
I love that
very
book.
first year that we did our Christmas in July episode, I
Yeah,
gave that book to Leah to read. And I
yeah.
had read it when those date books were coming out,
Mhm.
but I didn't necessarily like remember it.
Yeah,
They only kiss in that book.
they do.
Yeah, there's no spice in that book. They don't kiss until like
See, I feel like there's
80%.
more. Oh, so she writes a really good hero then, because that guy, I don't know, I remember that book all the
Yeah,
time. I always think of that book.
same.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's so I've known Monica for years. I love her so much. And when she tried that series, to try to do more like adult, not, to not do as much of her NA stuff, I was like, I love these books. Oh my gosh, I was so into that whole series. But then she went back to the NA, which is awesome. I mean, obviously that's huge. That's where she should be.
right.
But
I
yeah.
actually loved, she wrote a winery series
Yep.
in the early
Yep.
days, and then she
Yep.
had the Flower Sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Those books were
Yeah.
freaking
Yeah.
spicy. Like Sister can write some spice.
She can write some spice. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, but
Yes,
in that
ma'am.
book, Holiday, they kiss.
No kidding.
One
Isn't that
kiss.
so weird how you don't remember stuff like that? So in the other date books, those are spicier though, right? In that
Yeah.
series?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say
I'm not
medium
totally
slow
sure.
burn. It wasn't
Yeah.
overly, they are not what she's writing now.
I was gonna say, if you read Monica Murphy now, these are gonna be really tame.
Yeah, you have to think of it almost as a
It's a
different pen
different
name.
Monica Murphy.
I would say it's funny because Lauren Blakely sometimes will give you like huge spice in her books. And then
She,
other times they're
yeah,
like not hugely spicy.
yeah, I
Uh,
would agree with that.
and so
I
it's
would agree with
really,
that.
I have to imagine it has to do with her mood.
Probably, probably. Yeah. I mean, it probably does. Yeah. But that's a really good point. So yeah, different Monica Murphy.
Different Monica Murphys.
She
Um,
won't mind me say that. It's all the same to her, right?
what other
Sorry, Monica.
Christmas romances? Do you have any others on your?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. Like I said, I'm reading Big Nick Energy now. I'm not through it, but I'm enjoying it very much. I think Morgan Elizabeth can write a pretty good darn book. What else is on my list? I have a bunch that I have downloaded and haven't gotten to yet.
I read
Um,
Marin Moore's. She had Mistletoe Bet
yeah.
and Festive Feud. So those are really great because one of her hockey heroes, I think it's his hometown that he kind of has retired to with his family now,
Okay.
that he's
Okay.
not playing hockey,
Mhm.
and it's really great. It's just really
Awesome.
great. They were short and sweet, and I really um
Those-
enjoyed them. Have you read Amy Award yet? She has Cock Down the
I-
Block.
No, I have not. I mean, I've seen that book all over, of course, but
So she did a holiday anthology that yeah, and if you join her newsletter, it's really good. It's called Bare Naked with the Bearded Baller is the holiday and that's her book in the anthology. But if you join her newsletter, she sends you a book called Ants in Santa's Pants.
Okay.
And this is the cover. Like it's a
Oh,
naked, oh shoot, I
that's okay.
it's a
Yeah,
naked it's a naked Santa with a hat. Um
I like it.
it was
I
quick
like
and
it.
fast. I think it was 43 pages.
Oh, okay.
33 pages, 33
So just right
pages,
in
but
there.
plenty of
I am
spice.
looking forward to, we talked the other day about Mary Carr's book that's coming out, Naughty and Nice. I am looking
Yes.
forward to that one.
Yeah.
When does it come out?
Oh, well, Naughty and Nice is out now, I
Okay,
think. Leah and I read that book.
let me look at if it's out.
You want to talk about a first kiss?
Yeah, good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to download it. And actually, Mary Carr, Erin McCarthy, and I wrote a book together that Mary re-released, and I have to ask her what it's called now because we had a hell of a good time writing that book.
Were
And
you part of the group that did like the little novellas they used to do?
it is out now. This was a book that no, this was just a book the three
Oh,
of us wrote together. And we used to, it was called Big Package, and it was like he was a Santa at his aunt's store at Christmas and then met the heroine.
I'm gonna
I
have to
have to
go
ask her
search
what she
this.
retitled it because that one's really fun. But yeah, and actually Naughty and Nice is out now. So go grab that one from Mary Carr. I know that one's gonna be steamy. I
So
just
you
I
talk
just
about a
clicked it.
first kiss. A
Yeah,
first kiss.
good
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I I actually I love Mary Carr's menages. Those are always my favorite. And I wanted her to make this a menage, but she didn't. But I'm sure it's still really good.
This hero didn't need to be in a menage. This one didn't, because the
Yeah. Yeah, she mixes hers up.
previous one were a menage. This one didn't need to be because this one is like enemies to lovers, like real enemies to lovers. Because
Oh,
this is
okay.
another one of those close proximity versus forced proximity. So in 2024, I am
Yeah.
taking, so I feel like 2023, I took on the mistroping of forced proximity.
Okay.
Like, I will tell you that an HEA dies every time an author says roommates is forced proximity. If you tell me
Someone sat
coworkers,
on a pillow.
if coworkers are forced proximity, an HEA dies.
I mean, that's true. That's true. You can obviously you go home at the end of the night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So,
I mean, unless your boss sends you to a conference and you're stuck in an elevator, the power goes
or
off.
there's only one bed.
Right.
That is
Right.
forced proximity.
Right.
But I'm telling you, like, so that was 2023.
Okay.
This
Before's Crusade is
2024's crusade is true enemies to lovers, rivals to lovers, and adversaries to lovers. So
oh, I
every
like
time
that.
you mistrope enemies to lovers, an HEA is going to die.
You're gonna tell me. What is the difference between rivals and adversaries? Because I totally agree with you about enemies and rivals being different.
So adversary rivals is going to be closer to enemies to lovers. Like
Okay.
there's going to be something that they're competing against each other. So you think of rivals as like a football game.
Okay.
They're both
So it's
trying
like
to
workplace
score.
ones where
Yeah.
they're both up for the
If
promotion
they're
or they're
both
both
up for like the
right.
hating game would be rivals to
Yes.
lovers.
Okay. Good.
Adversaries are they don't get along, but they're both competing
Okay.
towards a common goal.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
Okay.
I just read a Christmas romance called oh shoot, what was that called? Uh I can't remember. I don't know. We have a quick chat coming up and I can't remember the title.
Tune in
Um
later.
that they are doing a he's the like financial officer for a small town, and the two
Okay.
small towns are merging their holiday celebrations,
Okay.
and but he's in control of her
I see.
budget, and
Right.
she has to figure out how to make the festival as grand as it always is under his watchful eye of the budget.
Right.
His goal is the Christmas festival, so they have a
Right.
common goal, but
They just don't like each other.
how they achieve that
Right.
is going to
Right.
cause more butting of heads.
And I think sometimes brother's best friend can be slash adversary because then it's more like I grew up with this guy or he
Yeah.
was a jerk to me in high school or whatever, but you still both like your brother and you both are attracted but the
Right.
only problem is you just have like this history or whatever. I
Right.
think that's
So
fair.
enemies to lovers, you're going to see more of a history, a family history. So
Yeah.
Hatfield and McCoy's,
Right.
Romeo and Juliet.
Right.
Rivals, think of it as a football game. You both are trying to score against each other. So your
Right.
competition.
Right.
Adversaries, common goal, but you really just don't like this
Yeah.
person.
Yeah. And when I have done Rivals, which, like I said, is this Christmas book of mine, it's not even like he likes her. She doesn't like him, but he likes her. So that can't be enemies,
Right.
like when one of them actually has good feelings toward the other one.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
Okay. So that's
2024's
2020.
2024's I am going to educate
I like it.
and
I like
fix. It's so stupid the things that bug you, but like honestly, I will come across a post of an author that's like, how the current graphics, where everybody's like kind of troping their book
Yeah.
for
Little
promo.
arrows.
Yeah,
Yep.
which I love because we all know I don't read a blurb. You
I
can
wish here, can I just say, can you also take this on for us?
Yeah.
Can we just do blurbs like that now?
Yes.
Can we just put up a post like that with an arrow and not write synopses and blurbs anymore?
I am all for it. Do you know who is the queen of blurbs?
Hmm.
Vi Keelan. I do not know who writes her blurbs,
I was going to say,
but
now I
her
need to know who.
blurbs read like a prologue
Oh, okay.
because
Okay.
it's like the moment that brings you
Right.
to the start of page one.
The book. Oh, I'm going to go study those now. Blurbs are so hard. Ugh.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to write them. But
No.
but a lot of times I'll find like there was one blurb I came across and it was accidental pregnancy, which I love. I love accidental pregnancy. I read the blurb and I'm like, I'm in this. So this is going to be like a one night stand. They
Right.
come together when they find out she's pregnant. She doesn't find out she's pregnant till almost like 70% in the book.
Yeah.
But it was in the blurb. Like
Yeah.
it felt spoilery at that point then.
We need, you guys have talked about this on your podcast before, and I 1,000% agree with this. Authors maybe shouldn't be troping their own books.
Yeah.
You guys have said that before. And like the major tropes, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Like it's workplace or it's whatever. But like, I think it's really helpful when readers tell us what the book is
Yeah.
to them. Yeah.
Well, and that's, I recently did some beta reading work for you, and that's part of that is
Yeah.
telling you the tropes that I see
Right.
within that book.
Right.
And when I do like editing, line editing, all that kind of stuff for authors, I will then give them a list of tropes that I think, especially if I'm proofreading. So this book's gone through everything. It's final. I'm the last
Right.
person that's touching it.
Right.
I'll give them a list of what I think are the tropes. And actually, it was Aurora Rose Reynolds. She was like, I will be back. Like,
I was going to say, do they ever go, really? Okay.
no, she was like, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, because authors, and I don't know how many years it takes us to learn this. It takes us several years to learn this, right? We know our books best, but we know them too well is the thing, and that can be a hindrance when you're trying to first tell somebody about why they should read a book. You can't, you know it too well to really just explain basically like this is what you would like about it. It's too hard. It's too hard.
And it's something, it's interesting because, and this is kind of a newer thing happening in Romancelandia, the talk of tropes.
Yeah.
5-6 years ago, tropes were not talked about like they are now. It is kind of a newer guide
Yeah.
to, helping readers find their next read.
I think so.
And I love it, especially because I don't want spoilers, but I'm also very privileged. I don't have any triggers. There's nothing. Birds. I lied. Birds are a trigger. I had to DNF. If I don't say this, Leo will get mad at me. I had to DNF Kate Canterbury's Beard, Beauty and the Beard.
Beard, yeah.
I had to DNF it because chapter 2, he opens the door to the cabin that she's inherited, and bats fly out. And
bats.
It describes in detail about the bats and the bats flying out of the house, and I was done. I don't do birds.
You're like, can't stop, can't forget this. I feel like tropes, this is maybe a dumb thing to say. Well, I think just being conscious of them. I feel like 10 years ago, there weren't as many that we talked about.
Yeah.
It's like small town, or, like I feel like the tropes were broader and we talked about them in a bigger picture way than we do now, which I love. Like you said, I love the way we do it now. Now it describes a book to you. It tells you what you want. We all know what to go look for. It's our search engine, right? It's like what you go to Amazon and search for.
But
So I
you
really
put it
like
in Google too, especially
it.
because although we talk about this often on the podcast, I'm mad at past Becky that didn't keep shelves on Goodreads and,
Yeah.
put that was a
I heard that
small
from a lot of
town
people.
or a
Uh-huh.
micro trope.
I think it's because you have like no idea how big your shelves are going to get. Like, I really feel like it's like you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe
Yeah.
how many books I've read. Yeah, I told my editor for years, like, why can't I just do a bullet list of what's in this book? Why do I have to write a whole blurb? Nobody wants sentences. Why do I need to use commas and periods? Let's just bullet point it.
I want the list of tropes.
I think that's what everybody wants. I mean, that's just what we look for. That's what we're all in there for.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so I have two questions left and then we'll get into the end of all this. One, is there a trend of 2023 of romances that you have just loved?
Oh, um, well, I mean, again, biased. I do think that the little surge, which I hope grows and continues, but this little surge of funny why choose. I don't think there's been a lot of those. Pecking Around, I think, did a lot for that. I think people were like, oh, why choose can also be funny and warm and emotional. And it's not all academy and whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with those. I mean, I've enjoyed many of those too, but so I like that. What else? What else? What else? I am overwhelmed every single day by the number of romances that are out there in a good way. Because literally, if you cannot find a book that you like, I don't know what you're looking for. There
Yeah.
are books for every single person, and I love that. I think the really honest, transparent conversations about romance and about what it should be and what it is and why it matters is, I hope that continues. I mean, some of it's painful, but I think it's important.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is painful, especially when people, a couple years ago, somebody said, especially like the bodice rippers, that those aren't really great anymore. Like
Right.
readers
Right.
of 2023 can't read Joanna Lindsay and Jude Devereaux
Right.
because there are really
Right.
some not great pieces in them in the eyes of
Exactly.
2023. And I still hold those stories dear, but I also
Right.
have had to have that realization that,
Yeah.
yeah.
My very favorite TV show of all time is Seinfeld. And I watch it over and over and over. It's a comfort watch for me. But it's not okay anymore either.
Yeah.
And if you watch it, if you know the show, my kids and I have watched it, and they're like, oh, that would never make it on TV now, which is a good thing. It's okay. It's okay that things change. But I do think that the open, transparent conversations, and sometimes you have to be forced to change. None of us like to change. And you change or you die, right? So
But I do like the conversations because I also like being challenged. That's the other thing that I've had in 2020. Well, really 2022 is when it started. I started following more book content creators that were BIPOC content creators,
same.
and them telling and saying, "Hey, listen, I'm not doing the work for you anymore.
Yeah,
You need to go and find those books. If you really
I
want to read
agree.
diversely, you need to do the work."
Exactly.
And it makes you do the work. And I like
And
that.
I like that too. And I love being reminded, well, and sometimes just flat out told, you're doing this wrong. You're not doing what you should be doing. Or reminded, hey, remember, you were going to try to do that better. You're not doing that better yet.
Yeah.
And I just think that's important for all of us. I really, really do.
Yeah.
It's one thing that's happened because of having adult children now too. They will hold you accountable. So it's
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Isn't it
yeah.
great?
It gets a little loud around the house sometimes, but it's great.
Yeah. My husband's convinced we're raising communists. Like,
I know, right? I know. I said to my son the other day, I think it's just amazing that someone at your age thinks he knows everything about, and he's like, I can't talk to you anymore. And he just left the room and I was like, well, I guess we're done talking
I
about
guess
that.
that conversation
My
is
husband
over.
goes, I don't think either of you handle that very well. You know, but like it's so interesting when your children become humans that have thoughts outside of what you taught them.
Yeah. Or will they challenge your frame of mind and where
Challenge
you're
your
thinking
frame of
things
reference.
and they're like, Mom, no.
Absolutely. 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 It's so good. It's so good. So for all of the bad things about social media, I still believe that the good things outweigh it
I
because
agree.
I do think that's how we connect and it's how we learn and it's how you get called out, but you should be
Yeah.
sometimes. So
Yeah. If I screw up, I want people to tell me. It
yeah.
hurts for a minute.
Yeah, and there's nicer ways to do it sometimes than others, but that's not you
Yeah.
know, that nobody owes me yeah, politely telling me that I would, you know, said something that hurt them.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Um, is there what do you hope happens in 2024?
For the industry
Yeah, for
or
Romancelandia.
the
What is
world,
there
world peace.
like world peace? You are now Miss America.
Thank you,
Um,
Miss Congeniality.
um, no, for romance
Romance means,
books,
yeah.
the industry.
Um, well, I mean, I can get granular in that I wish, hope, pray that Amazon can actually be a retailer that's worthy of the work we do. That would be nice if we actually had a place we could go and trust. But actually, the new sort of wave is authors selling direct to their readers, and
Hmm.
I really like that trend. I really like that trend. I think it's going to grow. I know it is. I know it's going to grow, and the fact that readers are coming along for that is amazing to me and awesome. And I think 2024 will be a big year for that, and so that's exciting for authors to take that back and to take that
Yeah.
control because that will benefit everyone. That will benefit the readers too.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, and I know Amazon is not always the best place, but I do always like to caveat that Amazon, if it didn't exist as it did in
right,
2009, 2010, or
right,
2008, 2009, 2010,
yeah,
we wouldn't have the indie author movement to the
we would not.
extent that we have it now. It
We would not.
it made it
Absolutely,
accessible.
absolutely, it did, and it continues to make it accessible and affordable to readers who. I mean, it's it's so hard because I totally agree with that, and I'm an Amazon reader
Right.
myself. Like,
But
can
if
I
they
go?
could just stop being shitheads, that would be
Well,
great.
can they stop canceling my friends' pre-orders the day before a release and saying we need you to prove your copyright when they've been publishing on your platform for 10 years?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like it's stuff like that. Like the more they turn over to AI and bots and things, that's the problem. I would just they could do it differently and but they won't. But authors and readers both need to remember that Amazon doesn't they're not our friend. They
No.
are a business, they are a retailer, and they are always going to look out for Amazon first. And we just all need to stop thinking that they owe us anything. They are a place where we put our books for you guys to
Yeah.
consume. They're middleman,
And they're
is all
also
that.
not an enemy.
They're not an enemy.
They're
They're
not an
not,
enemy.
you know, they're putting things to bots and AI because it's cheaper,
Right.
like every other business is doing. It's glitchy as hell. And
Sure.
people think this is what's so funny, and I get caught up in this too. Like they really think that books on Amazon are the biggest thing and is making Jeff Bezos all this money. They're not.
No, they're
If
not.
they were, he would fix these problems.
Right.
These problems exist because we're not their big cash cow. So we just all need to be a little kinder to one another. I think like when pre-orders get messed up, don't email the author and yell at them.
No, don't do
You
that.
know, don't do that. But yeah, again, the more control the authors have and the direct relationship. I also love Patreon. That's been a big thing in 2023 for me and a lot of my friends, and I think that's going to continue to grow. And having that direct, I can give you guys stuff today. I can get on Zoom with you. I can give you bonus content.
Yeah.
Tell me what you want. That kind of relationship was not something that happened in the 80s and the
No.
90s with your favorite authors. So that kind of stuff is great.
It even goes to social media. You know,
Mhm.
I watched the Judy Blume documentary. I didn't know you could be pen pals with Judy Blume. I had no freaking clue. I also
Right?
owned all of those stationaries.
Judy
But
Blume probably is glad that not everyone knew that.
right, probably. But I can now connect to the reader or to the authors
Author.
that I
Mhm.
love. And
Right.
social media is how I got there, and social media also has helped create the buzzing about romance community, which,
Exactly.
again, I don't have a ton of real life romance readers. And
Yeah.
so,
Right. Reader friends, like or reader communities, like even like my super fan page, I have people who have become friends and then they send in photos because they've met for lunch somewhere when they've been doing a road trip. And that's amazing. Like without social media, we wouldn't have that. Like I said, I feel like social media pros outweigh the cons most of the time.
agreed.
There's
Agreed.
cons. There's always cons to
Right.
everything. But I just think kindness, readers, authors too. I'm not saying there's not issues on the other side. There just can be such sort of entitlement and demand because Amazon has sort of created this instant gratification environment.
Yeah.
And when that doesn't work, people get frustrated, myself included.
Oh,
I've been anticipating a book, and then when it doesn't drop, I mean, I get it, but there's humans on the other side. So
absolutely. Okay. So now, Erin, this is your first
yeah.
time here for this. It is book of
Oh,
the
I love
week.
about this.
It's
That's so
book of the
funny.
week time. Erin, what's your book of the
Okay.
week? And it can be anything, even one of your own books.
Oh, it could be one of my own books. Oh, well, I mean, I really can't pass up the chance to say Four Pecking Christmases because it sounds so dumb, but as somebody who wrote the book, but I really love that book. Um, and I go back and flip through and go, oh, that part's so funny. That's great. But I'm going to say a second one too, because I just read, let me find it. Let me find it. Let me find it. Um, is it on my other device? See, here's the problem when you have too many devices, right? Tempting Mr. Scrooge by Logan Chance.
Okay.
Christmas book, fun, cute, sexy. So y'all
Okay.
should check it out. We have lots of Christmas books for you guys.
All of the Christmas books.
Yeah, all the Christmas books.
So my book of the week is Sawyer Bennett Did Everybody Dirty.
Uh-oh. Does she know you're calling her out?
She knows. She's made me keep a secret since March.
Oh,
If
oh,
you know anything about me, I am not a
oh,
good secret keeper. I am
same.
not. I'm a
I can't be
terrible
the one.
secret keeper.
Don't tell me stuff. Yeah.
So back in March, she came up with this idea that one of her couples from the Cold Fury needed to be revisited and they were being transferred to the Pittsburgh Titans. And she was going to do a surprise release
Uh-huh.
December 1st.
Okay.
So December 1st, Van 2 released.
Okay.
And I have been sitting on this surprise live release. She had me blurb the book.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
read the book back in October
Yeah.
and wrote the review, but I wasn't allowed to tell anybody
That is so mean.
nothing. And she gave like one sentence in the previous book, Bane, that
Uh-huh.
came out in October. She gave one sentence that a trade was happening for the team, but she didn't give
Oh,
hints as to who it was. So for weeks in her social media, she's been teasing this book was coming.
oh no.
So it is finally out, Van 2. It is a revisit to the same couple. It is a marriage in crisis. Nobody cheated. Um,
Okay.
it's an absolute homage to the old OG Cold Fury fans. Um, but it was so great. I love marriage in crisis. And it's one of those tropes that it has to be done really exceptionally well or it
Yes.
doesn't
Yeah.
work.
Yes. It's really easy to do it wrong.
Yeah.
It's very easy to do it wrong.
This
Yeah.
was exceptional and I really liked that I read the first book Van and then went over and read Van 2 and the character consistency.
I'm
And
impressed.
and
That's
again, and the heroine fights for the marriage because the hero
oh,
is trying to protect her by
that's
stepping
nice.
away from the marriage. Like
Right.
they're getting
Right.
divorced because he's protecting her. And she's like,
Okay.
it doesn't work like that. It doesn't
Yeah.
work like that.
Oh,
It was
wow.
swoony and good. He's a dumbass. Couple rage, Kindle throwing moments, but absolutely worth a read. So,
Well, and honestly, you have to, especially if you're doing a marriage in crisis of a couple that people know
yeah,
and that they loved. That's ballsy,
it
actually.
is. It is. But she did it and she did it really, really well.
Good, good. Wow.
Okay. So also, if you are listening to this between December 4th, December 15th, we are celebrating We are celebrating 12 days of Merry Madness over in our Discord. We have a new author joining us each day that has a holiday release this year. So make sure you check out our website to check out all about Merry Madness. It will be lots of fun, and we have stuff to give away. Patreon update, celebrating 3 years in the Hive is Kelly K, Duchess Katie from our sister podcast Corset and Crown, Carolina, and Christina without an H. That's how we have to denote that. They've all been
3 years. That's great.
yeah, they've all been with us 3 years, and it's like 26 episodes.
That's
So,
amazing.
isn't that amazing?
Awesome. I
Swag
love
packs sponsoring authors for December are Golden Angel and Jill Ramsauer. And swag packs go out to Fancy Drinks, Cold Brew, and Queen Bee tier. And we still have fun buzzing about romance stickers, mood reader cards, and other fun things. These are mailed monthly around the 10th of the month, and we do ship these internationally. Make sure you check out our website. We are currently looking for community input on what is your top read of 2023.
It's so hard.
It is so hard. I have to get it down to 3 books.
Oh, I can't do that.
I'm like,
So I could do maybe a top 10 list, but
typically Leah and I would go month to month and pick a book that was published each month of the year.
which was your favorite?
And Leah and I might do that as a Patreon exclusive episode this year.
Yeah.
But for our year-end podcast, we're just doing our top 3 reads. And it's really hard because I had a rough reading year this year.
Did you?
Yeah.
I just think it's hard either way. Whether you have if you had an amazing year, that's also hard because to narrow it down.
I did a lot of backlist reading this year too. Like,
Yeah.
going back
Yeah.
and reading authors that
Yeah.
I've recently found, but have like Carrie
You
and
need to go
Ryan, I
back.
had read on and off over the last couple years,
Mhm.
but I hadn't read everything. So I've been spending, and Sister has like
Well, I
112
was going to say
books,
that would take you a little while.
but it's okay. I adore her, so I'll keep reading.
I mean, that's not a hardship, but it would just take a while.
It just does take a while, but she has audiobooks, so she
That
gets
helps.
bonus points for
That
that.
helps. I've become a bigger and bigger audiobook user this year.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's just, I don't know. I love them so much and they're just so convenient some of the time.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yep. Erin, thank you so much for hanging out and
Thanks for
chatting
having me.
about books and Christmas and all those things with me.
Love it. It's two of my favorite things.
Excellent. Until next time, everyone, happy reading.
Find us on Instagram at Buzzing About Romance or on Twitter at Buzzing Romance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.